What's up, guys? I'm Nicole Rios, and I've got opinions. Today, I am happy to bring you a little Texas Senate primary hash out after action review with my good friend Matthew Bartlett. He is our our political correspondent here at Nicole Rios Opinions. And we talk about the candidates, the outcomes, what we think it means for the Republican Party, and what to keep your eyes out for. Um, we also ended up talking a little bit about Iran. I'm going to put a few cuts in just to give you some of my perspective. And it's an interesting time in the world, you guys. It has been very eye-opening and shocking, I think, for a lot of us to see how quickly these actions were taken. And just like Venezuela, we woke up to a war, and a lot of people are feeling very different about it. And so we talk about some of that. We talk about the implications, we talk about the messaging, and I hope you enjoy. Thank
Yeah.
you.
What are you going to do with the rest of it?
I'm gonna do a little bit more on Iran.
What's your take there?
Uh, my take there is I think that the best course of action is to create a little separation at some point between identifying what our goals are and what Israel's goals are, and being clear that if our interests diverge, then we will make choices that are best for America. I think that there is a lot of fear in groups that I've heard that are not necessarily as pro-Israel as I am, that with the history of what has happened in Gaza, that Bibi can kind of be a little bit more make it a parking lot than save the people, which is how
Yeah.
this has been telegraphed to us.
Yeah.
And that if we want to keep our eyes on the prize for 2028 for any candidate stepping forward as a Republican, we need to be clear that, a lot of the feedback that I've gotten is that, Rubio saying that our imminent threat by a response to Israel's attack means that Israel is the one that dragged us into this conflict. And there are unfortunately, a lot of people that aren't happy with that. Um, and I think that though we acted at the time, it was only a question of when. We already had so many assets there. And if we can be clear that our intention is to depress the IRCG enough that friendlies in the area can take on the whole regime change situation, and that is not our intention to be boots on ground to complete that mission, that we can be involved but not there ourselves in a major way, that we can keep the messaging straight. But as long as people still feel like we are being marionetted by Bibi and whatever his
And you
goal
think
is
that notion is present, is pronounced, is dominant?
in my age group, yes.
Interesting.
In a
Very
generation
interesting.
above me, less so. But my
Mhm.
age group and under doesn't have as much historical context. And you have to remember that people born in 2008 and after can vote, but don't remember 9/11 because they were not alive. Okay. And so
Wait,
that's
no, wait, not 2008, not 2008. Wait, is it 2008?
it's 26 now.
Ah, shit.
Shit.
That's, wow. So they don't even remember fucking Obama here.
Right. And so they came
Smart point.
into understanding a political scene and Trump won.
Huh. Sure.
Okay. And so when you frame it that way, all they know is this political chaos of Trump and everybody against him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they don't really understand I don't want to say real diplomacy, but they never saw Bill Clinton. They didn't see any of the pre-workings, right?
Sure.
And I think that that makes a difference in how they view this. And they have been so inundated with propaganda about Gaza and that whole situation.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
And so their perspective on this whole situation is overcast by that problem.
Yeah.
Okay. And they don't understand the significance of all of these Arab nations coming in support of our actions. They don't understand, they don't have that background.
Sure.
And how modernized all those nations have become. And they don't understand what it means that Britain and all of these other NATO countries didn't immediately come out and support. They're like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
so I think that it's important again to make sure that they understand that, and not that I assume, but I'm taking it as a sign that JD Vance hasn't been out here tooting the horn like everybody else, that they're trying to give him distance from the whole Israel situation because a lot of his potential 28 voters are not on the Bibi train. And
Big thing.
as long as Israel is at war, Bibi doesn't have to go up for re-election, which is supposed to happen this year.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And that man is a power hungry man. Okay. And it would not surprise me if he kept this up in order to keep power.
yeah.
And if we get fucking Pied Piper down that whole line and we're in this event for 9 months, it's going to be a fucking problem.
I agree. I agree. I agree. The longer this goes on, the worse it is.
Correct. And I am happy to show American force and check everybody on the map as to who the fuck we are and what the fuck we can do. I am happy to flex on them for a second and clear the way for somebody fucking else to go in there and make sure that the Iranian people have a chance. But the longer this goes on and the more bigger bombings we do, and it's just like Hamas, they put themselves in civilian areas. And the longer it goes on and the more bigger bombs we have to use because we can't use our little missiles anymore is going to cause more and more damage to the civilians and the civilian infrastructure. And the more blood, civilian blood is on our hands, the worse it's going to get for us.
Right. And public sentiment goes against you there.
Correct. And those are some of my bigger concerns. That is where my mind's at.
Yep. Totally agree. Totally agree.
Those are some of my concerns. I have it's interesting because I have a lot of Jewish people that I talk to about politics. I also have some anti-Semites that I talk to about politics. And it's interesting to see, and it's also the age group split.
Agree. I said it's part generational, it's part ideological, and it's part sensational as well. You're having just all ends, and I don't think the messaging has been good from the White House, to say the least. Um, so
I
yeah,
mean, I think it's been good. I just think it's been a little erratic. And because it's all the things, this is the point I was making this morning. Listen, if it depends on who is catching the question. If Basent came out and you asked him about the Iran war, most likely he's going to give you some economic answer, like, the oil or blocking China or blocking Russia or da 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 da. Okay, because that's his wheelhouse. You ask Rubio what it's about. He's going to tell you it's about the nuclear weapons. He's going to tell you about its safety in the region. I think that I think about this because it's in medicine. We always only perceive from our specialty, right?
sure, sure.
And so like I get wanting to get everybody on the same page, but the thing is that every answer they're giving is still the fucking answer. It's all of it. It's not
What you
one thing, you know?
well, that's yeah, I understand that. To me, that's so problematic. Like,
Okay.
what are we telling the American public? I'm not sure the American public knows precisely why we're doing this now.
Well, for sure.
I think most people get it. Like, is Iran a fucking bad actor? 100%. I think everybody gets that. But it's just like, why now? And I'm not sure that they've articulated that
Well,
perfectly.
so Witkoff came out in an interview and he was on Fox and he spoke about how much uranium they had enriched to 60% and the fact
Yep.
that, to go from 60 to 90 is like a 2 week deal and they had enough to do like 11 nuclear bombs and that they came into the first negotiating meeting with balls of steel like this is what we've got and we don't give a fuck. And I think that that was probably the most direct, like sometimes you got to fucking be honest about what happened in the room and explain and people can come to their own conclusions of what they would have done in that same situation and then most of the time they agree with the action that was taken. Um but I also saw reporting that other people in the room now, and again, I don't know if this is true or not, but that other people in the room said, no, that conversation never happened. They didn't say that. And so sometimes it's like he said, she said on all of it. And of course, when we're at war, everybody's going to hyper criticize everything, And listen, here's what I can say. The fact that Iran has popped off at every neighboring country out there
Great.
says that they are freaking lunatics and that it's like a burn it all down mentality in there right now. You know what I mean? Because
The
what do they
response,
think
they
their
blew the
future is
response.
going to be when all of their Arab neighbors are no longer putting up with it? When you look at what the Abraham Accords was for and the Board of Peace and how many differing ideology nation states have come together on with us on securing Gaza, making sure that the Arab the Arab area is safe, terror free. Saudi wants to diversify. They need to get into uh, tourism and they need to get into sports and they can't
AI,
do
yeah.
that when Iran is sitting there popping off. And the reality of the situation is oil ain't it for them anymore and they're trying to secure a future for their people and they
Correct.
cannot lean on those things. They can't get people to come to Dubai freely or any of the major cities that are becoming more secular and modernized when there's this terrorist threat right across the border. And so I think that that is a big reason why they're coming out in such strong support. And then when Iran goes around and slaps them, it's like, buddy, you guys,
Yeah.
I
Th-
don't know what they want the outcome to be.
luckily, they blew the response
I know.
hard. So that bodes well. So yeah, externally, I feel good. Internally, I still have a lot of questions.
Same. I think a lot of us have a lot of questions because we can't see how this plays out long term.
And good
We don't
God,
have
if we put boots on the ground, I don't know how this goes.
off with their heads. Listen,
I don't know.
what do you think about how NATO has responded?
And they haven't, right? Uh,
Do you
I
think
guess there's a
has a
question.
statement even been come out? Like, what do you think about how Macron has responded, how Starmer has responded?
They're responding unilaterally, which is fine. I think there was a notion of if a missile hit Turkey, which Turkey shot down, that could invoke NATO. But right now, NATO's got their hands full with fucking war on their back door right now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, they're in no position financially or militarily, and with Iran, it's a tough one. Just because a bar fight breaks out doesn't mean you pick up a chair. Nobody wants to get involved, but we'll see what happens.
Well,
It's
it's
just
not
so
like
fluid right now.
at this moment we really need much help other than, protecting our bases on their land. Um, but again, I think that some of the major fear that I've heard from people is that the timeline keeps being stretched, right? And it went from a couple of weeks to 4 weeks to 6 weeks, now 8 weeks. And that is making people really nervous about
Great.
mission creep. and about, okay, well, let's really clarify what our intention is here, and let's really clarify what mission accomplished means. Because if clearing out IRCG or IRGC and getting their drone manufacturing taken out and clearing the way enough so that a resistance can rise up and not just be absolutely slaughtered, if that's the goal, okay, I think we could all be like, all right, as long as we're just maintaining air dominance and doing it all from the sky and doing it all through covert operations on the ground, via Mossad and CIA. Okay, well, been there before. But if
Exactly.
we're talking about Iraq and Afghanistan, well, listen, we have a whole different conversation to have. The one
Right.
thing that I think, and that is why I think that being very clear that our end goal may not be the same as Israel's end goal, and if and when it comes to split and differentiate, we're willing to say, okay, y'all are in charge now. We're gonna step back. Okay, because we did all the heavy lifting, we got all the everybody out that needed to be out, or for the most part. And if you guys want to go on some, cleansing spree, that's on you. Um, and again, I think that that whole BB's election plays into it. Um,
Yeah, a
ugh,
lot of questions there.
no shit. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it
Well,
goes. Yeah.
keeps you busy, keeps you thinking, and keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, stay off the internet too much, man.
My
People are gonna
God.
go crazy. They thought they were stressed with Trump's general chaos before, and now it's
Ex-
like a
a,
whole
a
different.
100%.
So the last
100%.
thing I want to say is the one thing that I think saves us in this is the economic impact of consistent war and how much Trump loves a good economic number. And I really believe that if he doesn't see a long-term positive result and just a complete negative downturn, that he will find a way out.
I don't know what that means. And if that's the case, you know, the Straits of Hormuz are closed. And now we're talking energy prices, one of the very few things that we were crushing on. So I don't know.
What do
It
you
could,
think about him backing like taking on the insurance, and providing the insurance for the tankers so they can still move about?
I don't know. I mean, I still don't know a business that's just like, oh, great, we have insurance. We're happy to go get our ship blown up and our people blown up. That's still an inherent risk that even with insurance, it's not like, fuck it, we're insured, huh?
Yeah, I know.
Um,
Yeah,
we'll
I'm
give you
also worried.
insurance for a war zone, uh,
Well, that's why I was like, who's backing that? And it's like, oh, it was all seeded money from Congress. I'm like, God damn it. I
and now
also
they're
think
talking
that
about supplemental, but the amount of money that we've been spending in the past fucking week has been insane.
I know.
We
Well,
could eat a 50 bill.
the only thing that I can think of is like eventually it comes back into our GDP as government spending to restore all that fucking spending. But by how? Printing it? Um, the other thing that I was thinking is that, the longer a country is destabilized, the more the people in it suffer. And if we're looking at how long this goes on, the Iranians, despite being under an oppressive regime, they were running a country. They had the money flowing, the food and resources were getting in for the Iranian people. At least they weren't, emaciated. This wasn't like a socialist downturn, right? And so, like, at what point do the people start suffering because they can't get food and they can't
100%.
get resources? And if we end up with a humanitarian issue on our plate and have a freaking how many millions? There's like 92 million people in Iran. Like if we end up with a refugee crisis because it becomes so destabilized and Israel can't pull the fucking choke back and not just flatten the place, that is a huge concern for me.
And like you said, I know we think this is just going to be airstrikes and we're going to strike our way to freedom and democracy. But historically, when people get hit by airstrikes, you know, what's the greatest advertisement of America? Other than, in wartime, the American soldier. We're the fucking good guys. When you see that flag in your fucking town, these are the fucking good guys. But hating bombs in the sky is very easy to do. And it tends to have a unifying rally around the flag, like you just said, regardless of what you feel. You may hate the regime, but it's very difficult when bombs start dropping and you see the devastation to view that as a benefit.
Totally. And the last thing well, sorry, I've said that probably 10 times, but I think this whole story coming out about arming the Kurds is a very interesting situation. My husband was active in the global war on terror, and they had a lot to do they fought side by side with the Kurds, and they did a lot of training them. And so they know historically they have worked with us. But guess what? When we pulled out of Afghanistan, we
Exactly.
screwed a lot of our allies and we left
You
them in the dust.
you are
And
sounding
they
correct.
were completely abandoned. They got murdered and their families were murdered. And we made promises to them that we did not keep. And it doesn't matter whether it was Biden's administration that did that or Trump's, okay? Because it was America to them.
Correct.
And the reality of the situation is they sacrificed a lot to fight side by side with us, and they did it dutifully. And then we left them.
Agree.
And to think that we are going to arm them and be buddy buddy and kiss kiss is a joke. And I do not want to be a part of something that does that again, because you
Yeah.
leave generations, kids see that happen to their parents, right? You leave generations of bad taste. And that is exactly what the Palestinians feel towards Israel. It's just generational bad taste because of historical experience. And
100%.
right or wrong, it is. It is. And that's a problem, because the more we go around and muddy our image in that part of the world, the longer this just keeps cycling back around.